Picture this, if you will. You are coming out of your favorite late night supermarket because you've been procrastinating all week and couldn't stand another overpriced fast food meal. As you make your way to your car in the well lit parking lot, you suddenly feel as if you are not alone. You hasten your step, trying not to look frightened and weak, when you hear a voice that both startles you in its abruptness but relieves you in its tone and timidity. Sir, sorry to bother you, but can you help us? You turn to see a small group of children, old enough to go out, but too young to drive, and they're standing under a light. Could you give us a ride home? We lost track of time, and it got later than we wanted. Now we're afraid to walk home. You turn, still clutching your groceries, as the children walk towards you in jeans and hoodies. You think they're a group of boys. Their features are not very masculine and share a charm that's quite disarming, but there's an intuitive assertiveness to them that you feel on a subconscious level. How far away is your neighborhood? The one in front steps forward and points. Not far. The way just goes through some really dark and hidden spots for a bit too long at night. We'd really appreciate it. You feel sympathy for the children, yet the longer you are in their presence, the more you want to be on your way without them. You think of a good excuse. Your car is only so big and does not have enough room for all four children. As you open your car and place the groceries inside, you say, guys, I'd really like to help, but between the groceries and there being four of you, I can't take you all. Hey, maybe it's best for all of you to together to just... As you swing around to face them, you see that there are only three of them? Funny. Not only that, but they're closer now, and you didn't hear any footsteps. There's also something more unsettling that you can't quite put your finger on. Their features seem harder? No, that's not the word. Serious. But there's something else still. Please, sir, it won't take long. We won't be any trouble. Don't you want to help us? You do want to help us, don't you? As you begrudgingly decide to open your driver's side door to pull the seat up in front for them to get in, you realize you are already in the process. Something in the pit of your stomach grips you with an intense and primal panic. It freezes your hand in place. And that's when you finally notice it. All three of the children's eyes are black. Not completely black, but with no visible difference between the pupil, sclera, or iris. It's all black, and it seems to take up at least half of the entire physical eye. All remaining softness leaves his face. His voice turns firm and stern. Brian, let us in the car. The authority of his voice and some indescribable power behind his eyes grips you. Once again, you feel yourself opening your car door. You are sinking into those pits of inky blackness, when once again your stomach clenches with a primal shriek that shakes you loose. No! They all look a little shaken, but only for a moment. They look you straight in the eye, even sterner as they regroup. But you take that opportunity to jump in your car, lock the door, and start the engine. They group around your window. They are angry and extremely anxious, but silent. They stare intensely. As you peel off, you look back, expecting to see the angry teens flicking you off or running after you. But you see nothing. There's nowhere they could have run. There was nothing they could have hidden behind. It is as if the sky sucked them up without a trace, or the ground swallowed them whole. You drive home feeling relieved, but with a sunken feeling. You would have a great story to tell at the next party if, number one, you didn't feel as if you had just dodged the biggest bullet of your life, and two, you felt with 100% certainty that this tale was truly over and that you would never see the children again. Had this story been real and not just a suggested metaphysical experience of imagination you had just participated in, then it could be argued that you had an encounter with the Black-Eyed Kids. Black-Eyed Kids, or BEKs, are entities that entered the zeitgeist of the paranormal world sometime in the late 80s, but have actually existed in some form or fashion in the realms of the supernatural for centuries. If anyone comments that they would like for me to investigate the supernatural aspect, I can and will. However, the paranormal Black-Eyed Kids are the only ones in which I have intimate knowledge of. Black-Eyed Kids are synthetically spawned living entities from collections of genetic profiles collected from whatever species of being the creator or creators see fit. By the way, synthetically spawned will be a terminology that I use here on out in our time together. It differs from the creation of synthetic beings because they are not robots, android constructs, or homunculi of any sort. They are also not clones or genetically altered beings created from naturally spawned or even cloned genetic materials or reproductive sex cells. Actual biological material is made from raw ingredients and nurtured with intense guidance and care until they are able to be removed from embryonic chambers. Black-Eyed Kids' creations are so volatile and nurture-intensive that it is impossible for them to be born or hatched at this time. Their synthetic spawning is as close to true creation as possible by any known sentient beings in the known universe. The chances of a successful and perfect natural birth of implanted, synthetically created Black-Eyed Kid or any other sentient being is within the trillions. Chances of successful hatching is to the hundreds of billions. Black-Eyed Kids are purposefully spawned infertile and made extremely difficult to clone by the side effects of artificial spawning itself. Although they could be incubated until forced or natural growth to the stage of service, greater performance is achieved with natural time-scale artificial birth and intense training and naturalization of behavior, socialization, and techniques. Black-Eyed Kids typically have slight telepathic and empathic powers, both sensory and afflictory. The strengths of their abilities, as well as other additional abilities, depend vastly upon the genetic makeup of the chosen genetic profiles and the specific species chosen for the Black-Eyed Kids genetic profile. The genetic profile recipes have changed considerably in the last 40 years. Throughout all of the changes, the focus is usually resolved around the goals of blending into the human society to solve the Terran power set and the strength of those abilities. Focus may vary on specific goals and assignments of the Black-Eyed Kids. Now, I don't want you to quote me on this, but I believe the most used early genetic formulae were straight blends of native human and zeta reticulin genes that were based on a more important subproject that was shelved, called Subproject Hybrid. Back then, Black-Eyed Kids underwent fast, forced incubation periods and were deemed little more than disposable due to shortcomings in the process, genetic profile, and limits in our socialization socialization and training efforts. About 12 years or so into the sub-project, we learned of other races' efforts and genetic experiments. Based on pilfered findings, we explored utilizing Nordic genetic material. This allowed us to decrease the amount of our own genes in the profiles to make a more aesthetically pleasing appearance for humans without giving up much IQ or mental ability. The greatest hit in this combination yielded was a significantly weaker telepathy and mind control capacity. The black-eyed kids would, however, gain true empathy, and the slighter telepathy could piggyback to give the empathy much more affect, rather than just receiving the emotional states of victims or making them feel what the empath is thinking. The black-eyed kids could do more. The telepathy and the cold mental stillness from our genes allow black-eyed kids to find the dormant emotional spectrums in the minds of their targets and access feelings they require their targets to feel. That same stillness also greatly neutralizes the sympathy and the depth of feelings usually found in pure empathy. Paradoxically, this also allows a greater academic appreciation and clinical capacity for emotional experimentation on victims. The last leap in development came from the last active stages of Sub-Project Hybrid. In later phases, it was determined that life we created artificially was much more successful when treated more like true emotional beings worthy of respect. Their quality of service was positively affected by quality of life and socialization with living beings they could feel community with. No forced lessons, no memory implants or screen memory, no excessive abuse or disregard. We could not let them be held by their mothers and fathers, as they had none, but we did figure that we could give them a surrogate community, and that later on it could evolve into a community of their own, but be heavily guided by us. This content is actually taking longer than I had initially anticipated, and because I know that most Sol 3 human Terrans have an attention span of about 15 minutes for learning and entertainment, I will cut this video off here. If I receive some indication of interest, then perhaps I will complete this with a part 2. Until then, Mr. Pinchy and I bid you well. And remember,